Okay, so today's episode is inspired by a text conversation that I am currently having with two of my friends, or should I say, my family members, both men, both single, and both navigating what they're calling this wild dating scene. And the back and forth has me thinking, and it has me wondering, hey, is dating even worth it anymore? And what can we learn about the dating culture these days? Because the back and forth that I'm currently having also made me think of another conversation I had about a month ago with my niece and one of her friends not too long ago. I think it was a month ago. And these are two different sets of people, but they came to the same conclusion. They told me, hey, Gigi, dating culture right now is a hot mess. And listen, as I stated before, I'm married, but even though I'm not here dating, I do like to hear people out. I do like to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening, and especially relationships, because relationships really, really matter, right? And I know that a good relationship between a man and a woman can elevate your life, but also that a bad one can really, really drain people. And so choosing the person wisely, or going about dating wisely, is really, really essential. As you know, on this channel, we talk about everything wisdom and try to see how we can go about living a wise life, making wise choices, conducting ourselves in a wise manner. And so I'm interested in dating. I want to know everything about dating. And I also want to compare it because, of course, it's Monday. We're doing the World versus God series. I want to set up a challenge where I look at the worldly advice that we get and the worldly culture that is current, and I compare it and contrast it with God's advice and God's standards. If you are new here and are wondering, why am I even talking about anything spiritual, the reason is I do believe that the best advice you will ever get about anything in life is already somewhere in the Bible and has already been given to us by God. I also happen to believe that God is real and that Christianity is true. And so let me take you on a journey where we talk about dating and relate all of that to God. Stick around, don't go away, hear me out. It's just a thought. Okay, I should have also mentioned, or added before we dive in. This conversation that I'm having is showing me how much people are scarred. People are over it. People are tired. They're like exhausted from the dating world. And so I want to ask you, hey, drop a comment, right? Let me know. Let all of us know. Let's exchange stories. If you've ever been personally, victimized, scarred by this current modern culture. If you're a younger person, you're in the dating world. If you're an older person, you're in the dating world, and you feel the way my friends and family feel, let me know. Maybe we can form some type of support group in the chat or something. I don't know. Let me know. Put it down below. Okay, so let's take a look at today's dating scene, and of course, what I have gathered is things that I'm being told by the four folks that I'm talking to, but it's also the sum of my experiences and the sum of the things that I'm noticing online and in real life. And if anybody has touched grass recently, if anybody has gone out and talked to, like I do, I like to talk to my nephews. I like to talk I like to talk to my nephews. I like to talk to my nieces. I like to talk to my friends. I just like to talk to people. That's what I like, and ask them stuff so we can exchange, a little bit of wisdom. So let me know if you notice the same things that I've noticed. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 5 things that I feel like the current culture is pushing on us about love and about relationships and about marriage. I have, validated this. I have tested this and asked my four what do you want to call those, my four testers, if this is true. They have agreed, but let me know what you think. So the first thing is the hookup culture, where we're told, hey, you can go out or be on an app, and it's sort of a game, and you can be with somebody for just one day, for just one night. You can go find them, hook up with them, have an intimate relationship with them, and they don't owe you anything. You don't owe them anything. And on to the next person, right? It's just a culture of hooking up. And you have also things like situations where the dating itself, right? Finding a person, finding a hookup, what do you want to call that, partner, has turned into a show, into entertainment, and into competition, rather than something meaningful like, hey, I'm looking for a life partner, I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for a husband. I have noticed that there's a tendency or a trend to take this hot mess of a situation and turn it into a show, package it as entertainment. I know you have seen the pop the balloon shows. There are so many with the same concept. If you're interested in somebody who's in front of you, you keep asking questions. If you're not, you pop a balloon in their face. I know you have seen shows like the Love Island, or any type of, there's always an island involved. There's always water, an island, a great mansion, people that look good but are half undressed, and they kind of are supposed to fall in love together or not, or manipulate each other in order to win some money. That's the general concept from what I've seen, with some variation, but essentially the same thing. There are dating shows that pretend to be serious but end up also, unfortunately, becoming just competition and entertainment. I know Netflix has love shows where, people give each other ultimatums, and people are behind a wall, and they're supposed to fall in love and get married, or love at first sight, or all of that. So some are good, some are bad. It really depends on who's watching and what they consider good or bad. But I realized that in all of this, the takeaway for me is that the dating world and the dating activities and the search for a mate has turned into some form of entertainment. And that's fine, but also competition, right? Rather than something actually meaningful. I've also seen or heard about situationships. This is the one that I've witnessed so many times, or I guess I come to the conclusion that it's a situationship because, first of all, I learned these words from my nephews and nieces. Okay, they've taught me what a situation is. It's where you basically are with someone but not really. So you're single but you're also taken. So you have somebody but also you have no one, and make it make sense, because I couldn't figure out exactly what it was, but I have retained the term for it, which is a situationship. I call it confusion and instability, but hey, the word is also situationship. I've seen things like trends online as well, where everyone is now some type of dating coach, and they get to say what's a green flag, what's a red flag. I've seen it on Instagram and TikTok and things like that on social media, where we kind of try to see what's a green flag and a red flag. But what I've witnessed or I've seen with my own two eyes on some videos is everything seems to be a red flag. And so it's becoming a recurring joke. You have probably seen, videos where chewing a certain type of way is a red flag, wearing a certain type of clothes, or having an Android, having a certain type of technology. And so I've also seen this, right? I've heard of MGTOW, this movement, right? Men going their own way. And also the modern feminism approach of, hey, we don't need each other, guys. We don't like each other even. We don't want to cooperate with another. We're not attracted to one another because we're emotionally and physically tired from dealing with each other. And, women are saying that men are worthy. Men are saying that women aren't worthy anymore. Everybody's asking what's being brought to the table. And the general sentiment is, why do we even bother? But But I've also seen the opposite. I'm also seeing the opposite, which is I know that some people deep down are looking for a healthy, meaningful, sane, purposeful relationship. I do follow so many pages because I'm online. I can seem like maybe I'm only looking at unserious things, but I like to be inspired. I like to look at nice stories, nice things. I like to learn. That's why I always tell you, hey, comment in the comment section. Let me know what works for you. I want to hear from people because I don't hold the truth necessarily. I know where the truth can be found, and I'm about to put it on you in a couple of minutes, but I don't personally hold the whole truth, and I might have some blind sides, especially with topics like dating, where I'm not dating and I'm only kind of gathering stories from everywhere around me. So I know that people that are dating are telling me it's not worth it, it's a hot mess. But I'm also hearing something behind it, which is we wish it was not a hot mess. We wish it was something that is worth it. And so really the results of this dating culture, but also this uneasiness, is that a word? Uneasiness? Let's just say disappointment that is kind of floating around everywhere. So people are not fond of each other anymore. We see the divorce rates that are high. This is a recurring theme in every news and studies that you see. And people are lonelier than ever. And trust between men and women, like I said, is collapsing, has collapsed, has left the building. Also, on a more serious note, and this is what I always talk about in the background when I'm having these conversations with my family and friends, more and more kids, more and more families are being broken up, and there are more broken homes than ever. And deep down, some people are really truly wondering, what is even worth it anymore? Is there anything that's worth it anymore about family, about love, about relationship? And so I want to, like I said at the top of the episode, that was a very, very long-winded me setting the table of what I notice in culture. But before we officially begin the showdown between the world and God, I want us to take a second to think. What is the advice that we have followed when it comes to relationship? What have we heard when we were younger, or what are we currently hearing that we have followed? Did it work? Did it not work? Was it from culture, or for some of us, was it from God? Or can you be like, or are you, I guess, like me, and you have followed both and you have found one to be better? Okay, so drop your comments in the comment section, and now allow me to break it down. So on one side, we have a culture or the world that tells us that love is kind of about what you get, right? What am I getting from men? What am I getting from women? What can they offer me? What's being brought to the table by that? Again, result is everybody's mad, everybody hates each other type thing. God provides us with another type of advice, which is, hey, love is actually about what you give. And even though we know that modern dating can be selfish, like I said, what am I getting out of it? Do they make me happy? Do they fulfill me? I think we can compare it. You've probably heard about this, the love is patient, love is kind passage of the Bible in 1 Corinthians. And I'll put a note here as well. I always say, if you're not a Christian and have never opened a Bible in your life, that's fine. You're welcome here. I will propose to you that you still hear the Bible out, because it's full of great advice, and you will slowly find that if you put in application that advice, things just do get better. And you'll start wondering, how come when I put the advice in application, things get better? The answer is that the Bible is God's word, and God has created everything, so he knows how it works. So if you're curious about more of that, why that is, how is that even proven, what we believe, how can we test it, go find older videos, or I guess older episodes on this channel where we talk about why God is real and why Christianity is true. So that's the end of my note. But God has a different idea of love. Love is sacrificial, right? Love is what can be given to the other person. And like I said, in 1 Corinthians, we're taught in a few words what God is. In the Bible, love is everywhere. It's not just in Corinthians, but this is a very famous passage of the Bible. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not look for its own interest. So find that passage and just compare it, compare it to the worldly advice, compare it to a culture that teaches me, what can I get, versus a culture that teaches what can I give. And I personally think that if, and this is a big if, of course, if we had gentlemen and ladies that were interested in what they can give each other, I do believe half of the problem would go away, because we wouldn't be so, I guess, disagreeable with each other. We wouldn't be so ready to attack each other, because we would notice that we are useful to one another. We are liked deep down by the other sex, and we want to be together because we are complementary. And so to be patient is not easy. To be kind is not always easy. To not envy is not always easy. To not boast is not always easy. To not be proud is not always easy. But those are all things that help you in love and that show actual love. And so that's the first thing that I'll put in the showdown, which is the word is teaching you love, and dating, I guess, is about what you should get. But the result of what you should get is you get nothing at all, because you isolate yourself from the other sex. Whereas God is teaching, how can I be useful to the other person? How can the other person be useful for me? But it's not in the perspective of, I'm challenging you to be useful to me. It's I'm committing to being useful to you and bringing you something and covering you with affection and patience and tenderness and all of that. I do think it forms a better bond, and people become more agreeable and want to be with each other when we're all in a, I guess, spirit of being of service to the other. Let me know what you think. Number 2, the world teaches us, hey, you know what? Go out, experiment before you commit, be out, hook up, have your phase, do whatever. But God says, you know what? Build on a foundation, right? Build on a foundation. You could date around, you could sleep around, you could figure it out, I guess, quote unquote, later. I don't know how later it's getting. Sometimes we see that people are in their, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they're still kind of figuring it out, not to cast judgment or anything or anyone, but it is a reality that we're witnessing more and more. God offers something different, right? And that thing that is different is that love should be built on some type of solid foundation. It's not I'm trying, and if I don't like it, I'm leaving. It's a different type, right? If we look at Proverbs, and for the people that are, recurring on this channel, you already know how in each episode you will hear about the book of Proverbs. I will make you like the book of Proverbs. I will make you read the book of Proverbs if it's the last thing I do. So anyway, the book of Proverbs in chapter 18, it says, I'm biased because I am a woman and I am a wife, so I'm just going to plug it in here because I want to. But it says, this is Proverbs 18:22. It says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Hey, I'm just saying. I'm biased, but it's in the Bible. How false can it be? No, I'm joking. It is in the Bible and it is true, but there's something deeper in there, which is there is a good thing that comes from having a good spouse. There's a good thing that comes out of building a foundation with somebody in life for life, and not, I guess, swiping 500 people, swiping 500 times. There is, like I was saying, a stability, something that comes out of it, a united home, a stable home that comes out of finding a mate, instead of finding a mate and committing to a mate, instead of doing the test, trial and error for years and years and years, and just having always the alternative. The next person is always available. The other thing that I can say that the world teaches that is in opposition with the godly advice, or the worldly truth versus the godly truth. This one is a little bit more serious, but it's about marriage. It's about real commitment, and not a lot of people believe in marriage anymore. From what I see, there you have the people that hold marriage in such a high regard that they don't commit to anybody, and then you have people that do not hold marriage in any regard, that don't care about marriage, and so they don't commit to anybody. Same conclusion, people just don't commit anymore. And we hear things like, hey, marriage is just a piece of paper. Why do I have to involve the government? That's all fine. But God says something different. God says marriage is a covenant. And even if people say that marriage is outdated, the what is the word I'm looking for? The consequence of that is that, again, people are not happier, right? The choice is wider. We have more choice. We have more quote unquote freedom, worldly freedom. But what we are witnessing is that the more worldly freedom we have, the more people are tired and out of it, and nobody likes each other anymore. That's why I say everybody has free will to choose, but what actually works? Is it the worldly advice or is it godly advice? And then what is the consequence of it? How does it affect all of us? Why am I here on a microphone talking about relationships where if I could just be in my home and mind my business and be married and be happy and not mingle in people's business? But the truth is, if we're out here talking about marriage, all of us, if we're out here talking about relationships, is that it's on people's minds, it's on people's hearts. There are millions of kids, like I said, that are growing up in homes that are unstable, that are broken. The thing is, even if we were to argue that marriage is just paperwork, that's not the focus of the day. At the end of the day, the godly perspective is that it is designed for love and protection and family. It's designed for stability and order. It's not just designed so that the government comes in here and mingles in your business. There is another bigger reason why commitment, lifelong commitment, is necessary and good too. It's actually good, right? And so we're going to go read Matthew. I'm going to take a break of the book of Proverbs for a minute. So in Matthew 19, this also is a very famous passage in the Christian world. It says on verse 6, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Meaning, if you have been joined together in commitment or marriage, don't go on to the next day, right? Culture teaches us the opposite, as I was saying. If it doesn't make you happy anymore, if you don't feel the butterflies Monday morning, just leave. It's fine. Swipe right. Is it right or left? What is I don't know. Swipe right and go to the next person. But I will come back and say, hey, the truth is, I would have a different message today if I saw that it's working for people. But my take is that it's not working for people. We're not happier as a society. The youth is not happier just going being a butterfly and going from person to person. Let me know if I'm completely wrong and you see something different and you witness something different. What I'm being told by 4 people in the last month, but also my own analysis of the situation, is the more we go away from the godly design, from God's design, from God's intent for love and relationships, the more miserable we are. And even in the Bible, we have good examples of love, but also we have examples of people who ignored God's design, who for relationships and marriage, and it never ended well for these people. For the Christian, person hearing this message, you can think about Samson and Delilah. This man ignored all of the red flags, if we can call it, like TikTok would have called it, the red flags. He ignored all of them, and it literally cost him his strength. We can think of David, very famous example. I think I talked about this in the previous episode that I made, David and Bathsheba, where just one night of like lust led to a whole mess of sin, and more than sin, like destruction, pure destruction. We can think of King Solomon and his many wives. I know some of the advice online, especially in what they call the manosphere, is, hey, have as many wives or girlfriends as possible. We are men, we can have as many girlfriends as possible. And it reminded me of Solomon, who could be seen as like the man, but his heart got turned away from God by chasing any type and every type of worldly relationship that he could. And so these stories, even in the Bible, they show us what happens when we put in priority the desire itself, right, over God's wisdom. When we stray away from his truth and his very clear design for us. And honestly, like I said, what we saw from the Bible isn't so different from what we see today. I always say wisdom is wisdom. Wisdom is true. It's true now. It's true tomorrow. It's true 2,000 years back. It's true it will be true in 2,000 years if we're still here and the same. And so I want to talk about, at the end of the day, who's the real victim of all of this, right? Of what I call, again, the worldly advice, the current culture. Who really suffers from all of this? And the truth is, it's everywhere. It's you and me and everyone. It's the ones that believe that the lie that, casual dating was harmless. It's the ones who got their hearts broken. It's the ones who ended up feeling like love is just not worth it, or even trying is not worth it anymore. It's society at large, because I keep saying, and I will keep saying, that relationships seem like something that is just really individual, but a scarred generation of people who won't date each other or be with each other or marry each other or produce any type of commitment to each other will not be able to build strong families. And I would argue that strong families build strong communities and strong societies. And so all of us lose if the relationships between men and women are, a hot mess, as my friends and family is saying. And the stress from toxic upon toxic relationships will impact people's health. It will impact people's finances. It will impact people's anxiety over failed everything, work. It's all connected. And like I said before, choosing wisely, it's not just about romance. It's connected to a whole lot of things. And so I know I just vented for about 10, 20 minutes. I'm not sure, but there's good news. There's always good news at the end, right? God has something better. Just right. God has something better. If modern dating has burned you, you don't have to lose hope. I think there is a better way. I have tested both, not necessarily in this current 2025 culture of apps and dating shows and all of that, but I have seen when I was younger the result of being kind of in a confused state and following the world and trying to be in the world where everybody's kind of hooking up and everybody's pretending to be very, very happy and complete, but behind closed doors everybody's kind of anxious and isolated and feel lonely and frustrated. And I have also tested, like I said, the wisdom of God and decided that it's tried, tested, and true on my part. So I wouldn't be here, pushing this message if I didn't believe in it. Not to say that marriage is perfect, that the dating in marriage is always butterflies and rainbows, but it is 100% worth it when you put God between you and the other person. And so my encouragement for you, my recommendation, Christian or not, get into the Word, find out the design that God has for it and the rest of life. Study real, actual love. Study how God intended relationships to be. And also surround yourself with people who actually pursue it. It's not to say, I spent a lot of time talking about the failing and failed relationships and how people are tired and people have lost hope, and movements like MGTOW, whatever, in modern feminism are on the go. But you will also find, if you look for it, if you curate your whole algorithm, if you curate your life to surround yourself, you will find people that are actually looking for, love with purpose, that are looking for commitment, serious commitment. You are going to find, if you look for it, people that are committed to building healthy families, stable families, that are committed to being parents to children and raising good and happy children. And so you have to look for it, and you have to specifically also look for content that is edifying for you. And the best advice you can find is, like I say all the time, I think it's in the Bible, but you can also, subscribe here. Why not? So we can stick together and find out what else is in the Bible or what else is in culture, and put together a showdown to see who actually wins. You can also pray for wisdom. I always say, if you never prayed a day in your life, it's never too late to start. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be the biggest words of vocabulary you have ever used. It just has to be sincere, and you just have to understand what you're praying about and who you're praying to. If you're single, you can pray for your relationship life, your love life. If you're in a marriage, you can pray for your marriage and the love life of people around you who are looking for marriage or serious commitment. And at the end of the day, God's way is not just the right way. I always argue that it's the way that actually works in real life. It's the way that actually leads to true joy and true peace. And in this case, lifelong love that is not fake, or where movements are not being born because we hate each other. So that's my 2 cents. Let me know what's up on your side of things, how you see things. What are you going through? What are you seeing also? Like I said, I'm inside. I want to see what happens outside. I want to see what happens outside of this mic, outside of my head, outside of my text threads. What's in your text threads? What are you hearing? What are you consuming on TV or online? What is the word? What's going on? Let me know in the comment section. And of course, if this has hit home for you, do hit subscribe so we can stick together. I will keep making these showdowns between the world and God, but of course, we'll also talk about other things, current events, and the internet always has something to offer in terms of wisdom. And I will bring back the book recommendations. I'm currently going through a book that I think I will make an entire episode about. It's just so interesting. And so all of that is to come. Stick with me, subscribe, and send this to somebody who is in a hot mess of a situation, who would probably need to hear some encouragement or a new perspective. I will see you next time.